Thank you. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Beagle,
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Present.
Councilmember Behrman,
Present.
Councilmember Gotchall, Councilmember Grunland Fox is excused, Councilmember Sharp,
Present.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight. City Manager,
Mayor, I have no changes nor additions, sir.
Assistant City Manager, birthday boy.
I have none, sir.
Any from the council?
It's Drew's birthday?
Yes.
Just want to make sure I caught this right.
All right, next up is the approval of minutes. We've got one set of minutes to approve tonight, and that's from the regular city council meeting of October 8th, 2024. Do a motion?
So move.
Or,
Any discussion? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of October 8th, 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no correspondence tonight. Next item of business is the city manager's reports, the departmental reports of September 2024. Any questions? Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one for Director Sigma, DPW. I was reading in the report from HRC about the generator, and as I understand it, we're going to defer it out of abundance of caution for the elections. We'll actually start breaking connections and reinstalling things after the elections. Is that correct?
Yep, we have them.
Even though it says October, we thought it through and said, hey, let's.
Exactly.
Okay, very good.
We are still working on, the Consumers Energy is supposed to still run their line, but in the interim, they're going to start staging, and they will be on site, or they're scheduled to be on site the Monday before elections, and we'll have 2 generators there for backups for the generator we are currently using as well, just in preparation for the election. And after that, then we'll start.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like a good plan.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Just a couple comments on the economic development report. Mr. Benson, that was encouraging to see that there's some at least lukewarm interest in the Renton development. And I also read with interest that there are 3 40-plus acre potential industrial park developments. I didn't know we had that many left.
We don't have that many left, and therefore I tried to not be too specific. These are all very preliminary conversations. What's most interesting is how they're all kind of, the timing of them being somewhat similar. So, there are very possible conversations to have with city councils potentially on those projects. But at a minimum, I just kind of wanted to put it out there that that's what we're seeing. We've seen a significant slowdown in kind of new site plans, especially for industrial developments, and our vacancy rates are less than 1%. So, there's some kind of pieces there. But it's interesting, if nothing else, to see what few pieces we have left are being looked at.
And the demand for industrial and warehouse is still up, which is good. Office way down, but at least industrial. Good. Encouraging. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, very good. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So, support.
I got a motion and support to approve the consent agenda as presented tonight. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the call to the public. I'll read the rules to the call to the public. They are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after a correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after a correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council, and all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Do we have anybody to the first call of the public? Seeing none, I'll close the first call of the public. Move on. We have no unfinished business tonight. We'll move on to the new business portion of the meeting tonight. New business number 1 is the first reading and introduction of an ordinance to amend Title 9.00, Public Peace and Welfare, Chapter 9.16, offenses pertaining to property to add a new section of 9.16.140 graffiti and provide penalties for violations thereof. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Very good.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is relatively consistent with our, the conversation we had with City Council at your September 10th meeting. So I won't necessarily go through all the details, but it's a relatively simple ordinance to provide specific regulations around graffiti. Historically, we've relied on the International Property Maintenance Code to regulate issues of graffiti. This local ordinance would just be kind of more specific and provide more specific penalties and remedies for situations where individuals either A, apply graffiti, or B, are a property owner that have graffiti applied to them, and then how they would be treated after that. Based on the conversation with City Council, we made some minor tweaks to more clearly differentiate between those who apply the graffiti and those who are the recipients of it and the penalties thereof. One key thing for City Council seemed to be that making sure that we weren't being overly punitive to property owners who likely didn't do this to themselves, but still having tools in place for us to be able to address and getting rid of that blight. The one other thing is there was a conversation about could the fine potentially be higher than the $500 that's listed. Councilmember Behrman brought up some of the limitations with misdemeanors, and the city attorney did confirm that for this class of misdemeanor, that is the highest fine that we'd be able to levy under this system. So with all of that in mind, we've presented this for you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick.
First of all, thank you for changing that one sentence on the restitution to say "and/or the city," which is good. You know, you and I had this conversation on the phone. It's very difficult to find contractors that have the proper equipment and solvents that are also environmentally safe to do this work. Maybe we should start keeping a list of those if we see more and more of this going on in the city, because I know we had identified a couple people that do it. Downtown Detroit, there's a lot of the old historical buildings as well. So maybe, you know, maybe Mr. Sigma or someone keep a list of some of those contractors that are qualified to do the work.
Yeah, that's certainly something that we would keep in place, especially if we got to a point where we were addressing, as the city, addressing the graffiti more often. We might actually get to a point where we might have a subcontract of our own. The only caveat that I would put out there is we try not to provide recommendations to private property owners, whether it's for an electrical contract or anything else like that, just because that can get us in trouble. But to your point, it probably wouldn't hurt to have a list that says, like, here's a couple firms you could call.
That do provide the service. All right, thanks. Good change.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the first reading and introduction of an ordinance to amend Title 9.00, Public Peace and Welfare, Chapter 9.16, Offenses Pertaining to Property, and add a new section, 9.16.140, Graffiti, and to provide penalties and violations thereof. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business number 2 is a recommendation to adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to negotiate the sale of 1593 Chanticleer Circle, and if necessary, set a public hearing date in accordance with the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Section 3.16.150, sale of economic development property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Over. Very good.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. 1593 Chanticleer is a 1.3 acre former well house site that is owned by the city. We first acquired it in 1969, back when the city, the entire water system was through community wells. In 1999, 2000, that well house was demolished. It was no longer necessary as we transitioned to the Great Lakes Water Authority. With that in mind, this property has sat vacant since then. In the past, the city has put out requests for proposals to try and sell the property, and City Council has actually authorized previous city administrations to pursue the sale of this. However, those previous efforts were not successful for one reason or another. So we've just been kind of hanging on to it. However, we were presented with an unsolicited letter of interest from a developer to purchase that property. Hence this item before you tonight. I will tell you on the front side, we have not done a great deal of additional due diligence, primarily because we wanted to make sure that City Council would in fact be interested in selling this property, and if so, and if you authorize the city administration to negotiate, we would then work out a lot of the details, including the potential or the very likely need to dedicate right-of-way from that property that's currently being used for Loon Lake Road, as well as some of the existing underground utilities that still run through a portion of the property, as well as what that developer may propose to develop there. The property is zoned R3 single-family residential, so it's pretty that it would probably be 2, maybe 3. 3 might be not feasible in that zoning, but 2 or 3 single-family homes. But suffice to say, we could, work through negotiating all of those pieces, and including the sale price. They suggested one. We're not beholden to that. That's what we're looking to do. If you all authorize us to proceed, we would then negotiate. If we were successful, we'll schedule a public hearing, take public comment, and then you all could make a decision on that proposed purchase agreement. With that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Very good. Councilmember Getchell?
Thank you. I'm glad this is coming to us. It's one of the lots I've been talking about for years, so I'm happy. I know paperwork-wise, this sounded like it was going to be the easiest anyways. I'm glad someone sent us an offer for it. But looking at that neighborhood and directly across the street, it's only split into 2 lots on Chanticleer Circle. So that is all I would be interested in discussing with the developers, whether we split it ahead of time and sell them 2 different parcels so we can ensure that's what's being done. I believe last time this came up for any discussion was when Debbie Barker was here, and she had mentioned like, oh, the 3rd lot might be along Loon Lake Road. I know in our discussion today that probably from a traffic standpoint isn't the safest or wisest to run a driveway into Loon Lake right where the expansion or the turn lane begins for the neighborhood. So I'd like to hear everyone else's, I guess, take on 2 versus 3, but I would prefer, just for the sake of uniformity for the neighborhood, that we keep it to 2 both facing Chanticleer Circle, not Loon Lake Road.
Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Yeah, that was one of my comments as well. I also had a vague recollection of the last time this came before us, and that 3rd one did come off of Loon Lake Road. We did have a lot of discussion. We could go back in the minutes from 10, 12 years ago, whenever it was. But I would also support just the 2 lots. But it's great that we actually have an offer from a developer on it. It's been a long time coming. My one other question was, if this does go through and it gets sold, does that money go into the general fund or in the land acquisition fund for us?
Theoretically, you could make a choice on that. I do not think it would be predisposed to go, it doesn't have to go to land acquisition. That's probably where we might recommend it go, but I don't think it have to.
Okay, so there's no rule behind it that we would have to say it has to go into the general fund. Okay.
It was not acquired with land acquisition funds. So if that were an issue, that wouldn't be the case here.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Behrman?
I would just echo, I think two homes there would probably be better, and we could reserve enough space on Loon Lake to keep the Welcome to Wixom sign that's currently dilapidated. It needs to be replaced anyways, but at least keep some space there so we can put the Welcome to Wixom sign back and not lose that.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. That is another specific piece. So that would likely be in the right-of-way section we would keep, but that is a priority given some of our other conversations. So, but I appreciate you mentioning that.
Councilmember Smiley?
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. My inclination is to have 2 houses there as opposed to 3 as well. But if it's zoned for, if the zoning allows for 3, do we get to say, or do we have to put that in ahead of time?
Well, we can negotiate it ahead of time. That is the beauty of the fact that we control the property. It would be functionally easier to agree on a subdivision ahead of time if we're going to keep a section of right-of-way, which we will anyways. So plus, we could tie whatever restrictions we'd like into a purchase agreement. It's just whether they agree to it or what the sale price ends up becoming as a result of that.
Oh, good. Okay, so if all you need is our blessing for such a thing, you're part of the way there. There's only 1 month. Thanks.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm no real estate expert, but some of the houses in that area are, you know, smaller in stature, probably 1,500 square feet or so, I don't know, 1,700? That's, okay, but 2 lots is gonna demand a bigger house than that. Just doesn't seem like the developer's going to, I would guess the developer's gonna wanna put 3 on it, wouldn't you? If it's zoned R3 and you could fit, so, and then if we only mandate 2, we're probably not gonna get 125,000 for it. So I guess that's part of the negotiation. So I'm okay with selling it and putting in houses, I guess, is bottom line, and we can figure out the details as part of the negotiations, right? And you have informal conference with individual council members or whoever you get your guidance from outside of quorum, and bring it back with, when you got a plan, right?
Absolutely.
Sounds good to me. So I support selling it.
And I too support selling it, and let's negotiate too, and let's see what happens. I mean, what we can do, you know, it's up to him. If he walks away, he walks away, but, I mean, I think you've heard from council tonight, and we pretty much said, you know, 2 houses on that property, so let's go from there.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Sharp?
Yeah, and 125,000, they give us 125, we throw in renting property, you know, they gotta.
We'll get more than that.
Wow.
But they gotta build something on it.
Wow.
Well, that,
In 2 years.
Within
Yeah.
Wow.
Synergy.
Any other discussion?
It's a big.
All right, I think you got your order, so go ahead.
I do need approval of the motion for the resolution. That is formally addressed in the ordinance, that you have to approve a resolution to authorize us to negotiate. So that is the motion that's on the floor.
Yeah. So, all right, we got we've got a motion and a second on that. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Is that all
All
we
right,
needed?
that's all we need?
Yep.
All right, new business number 3. A recommendation to approve the 2025 municipal and community credit contract with the Suburban Mobile Authority for Regional Transportation in the amount of $16,093 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Very good. Deanna?
As most of you probably realize, the city applies for funding for transportation services for SMART annually. Before you tonight is a contract for 2025. It's similar to 2024 contract and the same amount. It would be for transportation services that the county would pay People's Express and administer the contract. It's pretty straightforward.
This is what our $800,000 gets us.
We got something out of it.
Okay. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
The question on the ridership, utilization up since the pandemic?
Oh, definitely,
Good.
definitely. In fact, it's up 40% from last year.
40%, great.
2 to 4 patients.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Councilmember Smiley? Don't go.
Thank you again. I don't know if there's anything, just there's a blurb in here about, Novi has chosen to opt into the services through PEX as well. Is that just an FYI, or is that meaningful in some way?
It just puts more demand on the transportation services with the
Okay.
nice population.
But, it seems like a good thing if Novi's in on it too, but
We
if it
don't-
strains them too much, maybe it's not?
Well,
It's going to likely result in a need for People's Express to expand their fleet.
Oh, all right. I just wonder.
In the interim,
What that meant.
service quality is probably going to go down for Wixom residents because of the added demand of Novi.
Oh. Novi.
Does make sense to have somebody that large of a community is nearby involved. So in the long run, hopefully People's Express adjusts the fleet and then adjusts the service quality back up to where it needs to be. Short run looks a little bit rough. We're going to talk about it at the next meeting that we're going to have, which is this week.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you, Dan. I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the 2025 municipal and community credit contract with the Suburban Mobility Authority for regional transportation in the amount of $16,093 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes the new business portion of the meeting tonight and moves us to the second call to the public. I won't read the rules again, but the rules are the same with the exception you can speak whatever's on your mind. Anybody want to come up for the second call to the public? All right, now it's time. We have a couple of students in the audience, so if you'll come up, give us your name only, tell us your high school, and tell us why you're here tonight.
It's better for you if it
Come
comes
on.
in group.
Oh, rock, paper, scissors, come on.
Better for you if you go in
Okay,
a
I'll
group.
go up.
You may have to dial a friend.
Go ahead, your name, high school, and state what your reason for being here.
I'm Aiden McDonald. I go to Lakeland High School, and I'm here for an AP government assignment.
Very good. All right. Well, don't walk away. Okay. Deputy Mayor Rusnick has a question for you.
Oh, all right, I'll go first. Let's see. In the Tuesday, November 5th election, on the ballot, in Oakland County for District 14, there are 2 candidates for Oakland County Commissioner. Can you name them? They're both in this room.
Can I phone a friend?
Sure.
I'd be amazed if you had a friend who knew.
Dr. Rahman, I don't know if Lakeland High School is also part of your district.
No, it's
There, I
not.
tell you, there's a big hint right there.
Is he one of them?
He's one of them.
Okay.
Who's the other one? Do, 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 do.
You say my name.
Robert Smiley.
There you go. Very good.
It's probably worth, do you know, that's for this area. Do you know your county commissioner for, the Lakeland, or where Lakeland's at? It's a pretty famous name in your
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
They sell a
Do you
lot
like
of-
cider?
They sell a lot of apples this time of year.
Oh, Mr. Long.
Chris,
No. No.
Christine Law, yeah. You had it almost.
No.
That's all right.
All right. Thank you. Next student, please step up.
My name is Cole Bromley, and I go to Lakeland, and I'm here because I have to do it for an assignment, and we have to go to 2 mandatory.
Okay.
And we went to our teachers, who's on the board, So then,
What board is he on?
the Highland.
Okay.
Board.
Oh,
Did
Okay.
they ask you questions there?
No,
Oh.
new experience.
Well, that's not your answer.
All right. Councilmember Smiley has a question for you.
All right, this is a fun one, I think. It's okay if you don't know, well, let's start. There's an election in 2 weeks, of course. One of the candidates has already been president, and if he wins, he'll have non-consecutive presidential terms. You know what I'm saying? There'll be a space between them. Has that ever happened in U.S. history before?
Yes.
It happened once before, yes? Very good. And you get a super big bonus if you can name the president.
I don't know. I do know that our teacher told us this like a few days ago.
No,
Oh.
that's okay. It's stuck for that long. Now it'll stick even longer. Grover Cleveland, by the way. But very good. That's all I got.
All right. Last but not least, name, high school, and state your reason for being here tonight.
I'm Bryn Talercio. I go to Lakeland High School, and I'm here for an AP government assignment.
All right. Council Behrman has a question for you.
Oh, I do? Okay. What was the other question we did last week? I think we did the council question.
Yeah.
So, how many council members does the city of Wixom have?
5, 6.
Actually, 7. One's absent tonight.
Her name badge was still out there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for playing along with us. And after the meeting, we'll gladly take pictures and stuff with you. So
All right, thank you.
there you
You're
go.
good sports.
Thank you. City Manager's comments. City Manager Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. So in the city manager update, we discussed a lot of things in relation to the upcoming November 5th election. I would defer to the city clerk if she wants to cover it, unless you want me to read it. I'll be happy to.
I did
knew
that.
she was going to be really kind of protective of her turf on that, but I wanted to give her the opportunity. So November 5th is our general election day. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's many early voting opportunities at the Commerce Township Library, located at 180 East Commerce Street in Commerce Township. That runs from October 26th through November 3rd. Those hours are 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. except Thursday, October 31st, which is not in honor of Halloween, but the hours will be from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on that day. Absentee ballots can be obtained until 4 p.m. on Monday, November 4th from our clerk's office. The clerk's office will also be open on Saturday, November 2nd from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for voters to get an absentee ballot, return their ballot, or to pick up a voter guide. And then voters now have the option to take their voted absentee ballot to the early voting center as well if they want to get that taken care of before the election day, or they can take it to the polls on election day and feed it into the tabulator themselves. Please note there are 3 proposals on the ballot as well, tax proposals before the voters. The Oakland County Parks and Recreation millage renewal, which is actually an increase. The operating millage for Walled Lake Consolidated School District, and then the City of Wixom's millage for major and local roads, which is also an increase from the existing millage of 1.1357 up to 2.5, but allows us to also address major as well as local roads. Currently, it's only local roads funding that we have on our funding revenue stream. Information on those proposals are available at the clerk's office, and also you can hit the city website at wixomgov.org if you want information on the city's road millage. There's much more there than what I just covered. But we wanted to make sure that we provided information for voting purposes for people with the importance of this upcoming election. Work anniversaries, we've got ranging from 14 years on down to 1 year. And then we have the dates to remember coming up, which includes some important stuff. If there's anything I can address question-wise, I will. Otherwise, that's all I had in the city manager updates.
Assistant City Manager Benson, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
That moves on to council comments. All right, we'll start out with Councilmember Gottschall tonight.
Thank you. I wanted to congratulate the Parks and Rec Department for Panther Hunt last 2 weekends ago. Last weekend went by fast. But yeah, 2 weekends ago, I'm glad that things were able to start a little bit early, get in before the storm came, so that was nice. I got a little cut from a pumpkin stalk that still hasn't healed, so need workers' comp for that.
Workman's comp.
And then earlier in the day, even though we don't have any firefighters here, it was very nice fire department open house as well, so thank you.
No workers' comp, but we have some triple antibiotic open if you need.
Councilmember Behrman.
Thank you. Also attended the open house. It was actually really nicely laid out this year and really well attended. And last weekend, the DDA trick-or-treating event was extremely well attended. Downtown was just packed with kids going around looking for candy. So props to the DDA for that event as well. And sorry I did miss the panther hunt.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. Just a couple things. I hope everyone has a safe Halloween. And, Crystal and your staff, I hope that everything goes smoothly in 2 weeks. And then just a fun little note, I ran into on Friday former police chief Ron Moore. I got to catch up with him. He's doing great. He wanted me to tell everybody hello, so I just did. That's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Crystal and her staff for making the opportunity to vote early. I know it's a requirement, but vote early. But got my ballots quickly, got them put in the box. I assume they've been pulled out and counted already because I'm not going to be here, but I really appreciate the opportunity to vote absentee. And I also wanted to comment on the nice mugs and the pins, and thank you for whoever in Steve's administration got these. They look good. I was just going to ask a question, though. Are we, remind me, are we making the official graphics available to any entrepreneur that wants to sell them? Or how are we making these available to the general public? If somebody wants to buy a mug like this, is there a way for them to do that?
So we've not really thought of making those publicly available yet. It is something that we may consider. In terms of the logo files themselves, we likely will not at least intentionally make them public. I mean, things end up on Google, and that's how it goes. But we have trademarked both the horizontal logo, the badge logo, as well as the Downtown Development Authority's primary logo. So we've at least got those pieces in place. You know, we may get to a point in the future of kind of making some things publicly available, but specifically on the apparel side, we've actually tried to be very thoughtful about limiting who can get those, because it can come across as being public,
Official.
you know, yeah, you look official. So cups and pens are a different thing. And so we might dive into that more as we move forward.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess the only thing I have to add is next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after that is Halloween, so everybody be very diligent, you know, driving back home from work or school. There's going to be a lot of little trick-or-treaters out, and it gets dark early. And Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Remember to get out there and exercise your right to vote, and get out there. I know you guys are probably too young yet, but soon you'll be doing it, and you should do it every year and exercise that. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And, yeah, kudos to the Parks and Rec for a great panther hunt. It was a lot of smiling faces till about 7:30, and then after that, but it was good. And then thank you to the fire department for letting me burn some hot dogs and hamburgers at their open house. That was very well attended, and I think layout-wise, it was probably the best it's ever been, where everybody got to walk around and see all their equipment and stuff like that. And I have no qualms that we're going to have a great, successful election with Crystal and her staff. And make sure you get out and vote. And thank everybody for their work anniversaries that we have this month. And with that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Or
I didn't think you guys wanted to leave just yet.
Second there.
Wow. Got a motion, a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everybody. Thank you.